right, welcome to the Matchbook Podcast, episode 5. We're talking about black culture and big business today, and I have some special guests in the building, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves.
All right, so my name is Jamal Castang. I'm an entertainment attorney, specifically music lawyer, and also Billboard Charter music producer from the production team, The Profound Sounds, out of Norfolk, Virginia. I'm based out of D.C., licensed in the state of Virginia.
Hi, everybody. I am DJ Honey. I am a DJ, of course, promoter, entrepreneur, real estate owner, computer engineer. Based out of the DMV area, originally from Philadelphia. So thank you so much for having me, ARSIN.
You already know.
I am Jacinta Vosa. I am a photographer and a friend of ARSIN's.
Yes, she's also an intern at Extinguish Entertainment. So today I wanted to talk about this. It's really important to me as an artist, and I really think it's important for our community, people of color, black people. The first topic that I want to kind of discuss on is just the extortion and exploitation of black artists, black business owners, and community leaders. So we have a couple questions for y'all that we wanted to kind of see, what your opinions are, your input, and your ideas are in relating to this topic. So one of the first questions that I have for you, what is your experience working with black artists, black business owners, and the industry as an entertainment lawyer?
And so my viewpoint and my perspective is very unique because there aren't too many entertainment attorneys who represent, TV and film producers, music producers, major recording artists. So the first thing I would say with my experience is that I find, and I'm fortunate, by the way, that the way I've constructed my law firm is actually by making sure that it's accessible to minorities. It doesn't take away or remove the ability for anyone to come see me, but how law firms are constructed, time is literally money. So every single moment counts. When a phone call is made, that's a bill. Email is made, that's a bill. I've kind of removed that because that was one of the first parts. The other part that I saw that I needed to make sure I was accessible to minorities was just making sure that I was visible. And so with me being a talent, I'm in the rooms of individuals who are probably doing something that they probably don't even realize right at that moment. Hey, I need to make sure I talk to this lawyer, or I get a manager, or I send this type of email, or I reach out to this individual. I would probably say the pitfalls, that I've seen that I think is always repetitive since the beginning of time is just a lack of knowledge. I think we all, at some point or another, heard when we were in school, knowledge is power. Like it sounds corny, it sounds cheesy, but it is the truth. So that was my whole purpose of when I got my first Billboard placement under Skills. He goes by Mad Skills. Oh, Mad Skills? Yeah, Mad Skills. So, he's probably one of the best lyricists of all time out of Virginia. Ghost written for Diddy.
I didn't know he's from Virginia. I thought
he's from Richmond, Virginia. He'll let you know too. He's from Richmond, Virginia.
Is that Mad Skills that was doing the thing with 50 when he first came out? Is that the same?
I wouldn't be surprised.
I think he was on the hook, robbing the industry.
I wouldn't be surprised because he's very storied. At the same time, he was doing the wrap up every year, and so it's a personal story. What ended up happening was the production team, as it was constructed at that time, it was like 5 of us. And so I used to always sit down and watch documentaries just to learn from other individuals, since I can't actually sit down and talk with a Johnny Gill or a Heat Wave or DMX or anybody else. I could at least watch their documentaries when they're talking to see, where they felt they could have went better down a different path and whatnot. And so I would see things like for Heat Wave, for example, the group was constructed where it was like 5 people. And I promise, this is going somewhere. It's like 5 people. And some people had nice cars. Some people still live in the projects. Some people were making money. Some people weren't. And so I said, look, y'all, we probably should make sure that all of our money is split even when we start making money. We also were having discussions, I wouldn't say infighting, but discussions about, hey, how much should we sell our beat for? So sometimes people were thinking sell 20 beats for $100 or, 50 beats for $100. And I'm like, why are we working that hard when our material is really that good? I think we should, at least negotiate a certain decent price for each track. And so what ended up happening was I pushed my way into this radio station at Norfolk State University. It's Hot 91. I'm working there just to build connections. I already have family members in the music business, but I didn't want to be associated with them at all. I wanted to get it on my own, and I knew how. And so Skills comes in there. We build a rapport. And then right around that time, it was February 2010, I sneaked backstage at Hampton University's concert that they had with J. Cole and Ryan Leslie and a bunch of other people. And I sneaked backstage to get a beat tape to J. Cole. And Mike Shaw was his friend's name. They end up lying to the security for me, who grabbed me by my collar and was like, yo, there's some guy back here sneaking. He was like, oh, no, he's part of our crew. And so build a rapport. 8 months later, I see Skills again. And that's when I meet him again and say, yo, what's up? And he said, man, I got a show going on. Y'all need to come to my place. Come to my show. Go there, and I tell him I want to do the wrap-up. We do the wrap-up. Everybody in my team was talking about doing the track and being happy, but they didn't want to talk about the money. Me, I was like, why not? Like, we should ask about the money. We should be appreciative for sure the opportunity, but we're still offering something to the table and having the.
Why didn't they want to ask about the money? Like, what was this fear in that?
I think it's always the fear of feeling like, man, maybe I don't know what I'm talking about, or I should be grateful to be in this opportunity.
Yeah.
And for me, I am grateful, but I also have dignity and respect and self-esteem, right? Yeah. And so when I'm there, it wasn't even a hard conversation, just leaving out private details. It wasn't a hard conversation. Skills was a good businessman. He was a good person in general. Never got that vibe from him that he would snap on me if I asked him, hey, how much can we charge or whatever. Like, against my team's wishes, essentially, I talked about it. And then it was the same thing for Malice of the Clips. We had produced 2 records on his first solo album, and then we executive produced the second album, Let the Dead Bury the Dead. And each time, I was always handling the business, which I've fully welcomed that role because, like, I was comfortable in that. And and it wasn't because I did it before. It wasn't because my uncle is this person and whatever. But it's the same thing I do when I go work at Foot Locker, right? Like, I'm not grateful just to be selling clerk and shoes.
Yeah, you want to know how much you're getting.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So in your experience, you saying that with the artists that you was working with, it seemed like the artists themselves wasn't too concerned about the business. That was more like the idea,
yeah,
your focus.
More about the idea, but also they weren't sure. And so that's where I get to take that confidence that I have, because I have a lot to give to the whole world. I'm like, oh, I can take that and put it behind me being a lawyer, because everybody's always going to look at the lawyer like, oh, they know everything. The same way they look at the CEOs or the execs of a record label. Oh, man, they must know everything. So when I have clients, I told one of my clients this morning when I was going over a management agreement, look, you bring something to the table too, right? Like, don't look at it like maybe I shouldn't ask or maybe I shouldn't, authorize Jamal to push for this or push for that. You bring something to the table too. And I saw it. It's the same thing I've seen with Megan Thee Stallion when she talked about why she just signed it. It's the same thing I've seen TLC talked about.
Yeah, so I think what I'm hearing from you is it seems like you have the ability, even a talent or a gift to be able to help individuals see their own value in those situations, because you sitting with your client telling them that you have value in it too is empowering for people. Would you say that?
Yeah, most definitely. That comes from my late mother pushing me to help people. I knew I wanted to be a lawyer since I was 5. So like my uncle, just so like to give you the perspective that I grew up with, why is very unique. I'm 5 years old, but my blood uncle, my mother's brother, is Keith Sweat. But then a family friend that is like my uncle, you can't tell him that I'm not his nephew, is John P. Key. So those are 2 individuals that know their business and handle their business. I saw that from the side view. There wasn't no direct conversations. But then I grew up in a single-parent household, a black woman that was working 2 jobs supporting, a family of 2 boys, right? So, like, I see that confidence and I see that type of hustle and that type of push from someone, day in and day out, that's gonna translate over, especially helping me figure out what I want to do at 5 years old. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, I see. Now, DJ Honey, one thing I noticed that came up when I was talking to him, I was talking about empowering others. And in hip hop, me being an artist, an MC, and you go all the way back to, the beginning stages of hip hop, the DJ, it was cool to be the DJ. It was okay to be the rapper, but the DJ, they empowered, they amplified the voice. So with your experience being the DJ and now, starting to cross over to being an artist, what was your experience as a DJ as far as that role in helping artists get their voice heard? How was it? Did you experience some things like that where people were hesitant or were they overly confident? And how did it make you feel to help people get their voice?
Well, to be honest, as a DJ, and I'm more of like a party rocker, not necessarily, I'm moving into the realm now in my career where I'm DJing for artists. The thing with me and the reason why I kind of like navigated from it was more or less because in order for me to be your DJ, I have to believe in your music. I can't just say, hey, yeah, I'll be your DJ and then spinning your music and I can't play it with other things. So I've always been very protective of that side of my talent because I've never been one to push music that I can't play. It needs to fit my personality. It needs to fit me, how I DJ, and all of that. And as far as like empowering others, I actually do that. I think as of lately, I've actually been running into a lot of artists that I actually like, which is kind of surprising for me. That I can actually say like, hey, yo, I'll go on tour with you. Like, and I think that's because as a DJ, we have an ear for what the people want to hear. And some artists spit what they want to hear. They don't really think about the public when they're making their music. Now, don't get me wrong, your art is supposed to be a part of you, but at the same time, for you to reach the masses, you got to give the masses something that they want to hear. So I definitely, if I see talent, and I actually got a really good eye, if I see talent, I try to push it. And if somebody tells me that they want to do it and they want my help, I'm just like, hey, I'm an artist myself. I've spent a lot of time helping and pushing people, and I had to start to change that energy for myself. So with artists, I just say, hey, I think that you should pay attention to what the kids are dancing to, like what are they receiving, and try to fit into that mode, because sometimes it's not just about what you want to record, it's about what's going to make everybody move for you.
Exactly. So I want to go all the way back, and we're talking about black culture. And when we talk about black culture, we talk about, all the way back to Africa, the drum being the beat, the call and response that the tribes use, and later we used in slavery in the cornfields, the call and response way to have communication, to sing songs, and then how that shows up in hip hop when I say hey, you say ho, like those foundations and cultures that come through jazz, rock and roll, Little Richard, James Brown, the influences they had, on other artists like Elvis, and just we talk about sports, we talk about entertainment, we talk about television, we talk about all types of art, we talk about which for us is just our life, like when I was a kid and I seen sneakers hanging on a cord, it was just sneakers hanging on a cord. Or I seen graffiti, it was just graffiti. When I seen a cipher, it was just a cipher. When we battled dance, it was just that. But later on, I found out that this is a thing. Mm-hmm. This is a culture. This is hip hop. Like, oh, wow. And then throughout the years, I look back and I see stories like you just talked about, were artists who didn't really ask about money, or really didn't even know they worth, or didn't even know that this was worth something. And then I look back and I see examples of like artists who were exploited out of deals, or didn't know they worth, or they got small percentages, and they end up in situations where they're famous but they're broke. The same things that initially we're shined upon as far as like our slang or the way we dress, I see those things converted into commercial styles, the way women wear their nails, weave, the way, it becomes a thing where, oh, you don't like rap, but McDonald's is using rap on every commercial to sell their product. And the most important thing about today is I want artists to know how to navigate as far as what is, intellectual property, what is copyrights, what is it like to start a business, what is it like to network, and those are some of the things that I want to come out of today. But one of the things I'm thinking about right now is the most influential genre of music is hip hop, and I think back to hip hop where it started in New York. It started in New York, the culture and everything. It was fun. You talked about moving the crowd. We talking about house party. We talking about Rakim. We talking about Big Daddy Kane. We talking about block parties, DJing out in the park. It was all about fun. It was all about coming out of a struggle and making something out of nothing, making the train your canvas, making the cardboard box your dance floor. It was we didn't have a lot, but we made a lot, and then it became a multi-million-dollar, billion-dollar industry. And to see where it is today, sometimes it just hurts to see that we get the short end of the stick a lot when it comes to that. I think about hip hop, and I think about you know the beauty and dark side of our communities, the violence, the drugs, and everything. And I understand that it's a space for both. It's the truth in it, but also I've seen it get exploited to where now artists, like you said, they want to rap about what they feel, but also they also want to rap about what they think people want to hear, and it kind of blurs the lines. And I think about gangster rap, and a lot of people think that it started in the West Coast. Common had a line where he said, when he had a song, I Used to Love Her, he talk about when hip hop went to the West, she got gangster. But if you do your research, it actually started in West Philly with Schoolie D, Parkside Killers. And Ice-T and Ice Cube talked about their influence from that song and that group and how that influenced them. But when I heard it, and I'm 5 blocks away, when I heard it, I didn't see it as what they call gangster rap today as far as killing and drill music. I saw it as a person just showing the more darker side of the community and expressing themselves. And I seen that with NWA. Even though it was a little rough around the edges, it was still a political tone with fuck the police and respect yourself and all the things that was going on. But as we get into today's music, and we talking about music right now, I heard you mention artists rap about what they want to rap about and then also what's going to move the people. I feel like me as an artist, and I feel like some artists can relate, it gets confusing. It's like I want to rap about what I want to rap about, but it may not be what people want to hear. Or I want to rap about what I think people want to hear, but is it really true to my life? And is my art going to imitate reality? What am I putting myself into? And then you being a DJ, 15 years ago now, and it's different. 15 years ago, an artist needed a DJ for the most part, or the radio to get heard. Now you have the internet, Spotify, so many ways to kind of reach people directly. It's like I don't know, where hip hop and music is heading in the sense of like, is it? At one point, I feel like it was us leading the way on what we want to talk about, setting the trends, and now I feel like with newer artists, it's people just trying to fit into trends or just shoot in the dark, and they're not really staying true to themselves. I heard you say you got to believe the artist. A lot of the times, do you not believe the artist, or do you not agree with the artist because it doesn't align with your mission, or does it? Do you feel like, oh, it's coming off as just something generic? Or are you trying to go with the trends?
I think in this day and age, whether you believe the artist or not doesn't matter. I don't think it matters. I think what matters is the sound, the drum, the kicks, the hook, the verses, and how everything ties in together and how you make that into art. I don't think that it matters what people believe. If it's something that they can push play on, blast it in their cars, and they sing it over and over and over again, I think that's what matters. And I think that's where commercialized corporations like McDonald's, that's where they win, because they understand that they need to commercialize it. Because if we start to understand that we should commercialize our hip hop, that's where we start to reach the masses. And I'm not saying don't do what is true to you, but find the
sweet spot.
The sweet spot. It's so funny that you said a sweet spot. I know a producer, and she was out in LA. And I told her how I used to make beats and I want to get back into it. And she told me about this sweet spot in the beat. It's always a sweet spot. I have a sweet spot when DJing. Don't get me wrong. I love DJing in Philly. I love it because our people, they move, they dance, they have a good time, you know. However, I also love DJing dubstep. I love DJing top 40, but I also like DJing trap. But I have found a sweet spot within my talent that I can cater to the masses. And I think that artists need to find that sweet spot too. So, like, my first love is definitely producing. That's how I fell into DJing. However, producing wasn't giving me money right away. So, I found another way. So, I think that there's always a sweet spot where you can balance still being yourself and also still giving the masses what it is that they want.
And I think that's like my ultimate, like, point that I'm trying to get to, because with our culture and with our music, it wasn't just it wasn't just entertainment, it's our life. So you got to find a way where you don't sell your soul,
Right.
but you want to make money. And then I think a lot of artists and a lot of small business owners, we get to a point where we have the talent, we have the sweet spot, but we have to get an investor, or we have to get a big business to fund that project. And then that comes with compromising a
But I
little
think
bit.
that's where you're wrong.
Okay, well, explain it to
I
me.
think that's where you're wrong. I think that the biggest aha moment for me in music and entertainment is that we are conditioned to think that we need an investor, that we need someone to fund us, or someone's going to come in and make these amazing changes for us when we can do it ourselves. We can save the money for the bigger projects and put all of that time, energy into ourselves, because honestly, that's what I had to do for myself as DJing. I thought that I was going to get picked up by somebody amazing because I know I'm dope. I thought somebody was going to pick me up, take me out of the ghetto, put some makeup on me, and make me into this Barbie doll. But I had to realize I had to do it myself. And when I started to do it myself, I actually became better at my business. I started doing the checks and the balances, keeping receipts and writing off things and stuff like that. I started to educate myself on what I can like level. So no, I don't think that we need to get an investor, because believe it or not, now that where I am in my career, people are knocking on my door. They're knocking on my door. I don't have to go look for investors. They say I told a bar manager, I said, hey, I want to open up a black-owned LGBTQ club in DC. We don't have it. We don't have it. And he said, okay, honey, I'll give you $100,000, because he believes in my brand. So I think that we need to initially invest in ourselves, and the investors will come after us because they'll want to get a part of it. Even hence the conversation we were having about Jordan earlier. They make all of this money and he makes this small portion, but it's just passive. I'm trying to tell you, I think that we should just put our own money into ourselves.
So what I would say is, I wouldn't say you're wrong, but I don't disagree with her either.
I wasn't saying me personally, but I'm saying
yeah.
this is the ideology of people. They feel like I need to get signed.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But that ideology doesn't go away, because I'm speaking from the producer side that I currently am, and a lawyer. Either way, someone's going to be investing in your stuff, and then there's still going to be a give or take. Because I'm going to tell you, as a lawyer, I realize, and a negotiator, I realize it doesn't serve you to serve in the extreme realm, right? Like, you don't just come in and say, I'm doing it all my way and I don't want to hear what you got to say, nor does it work the way where you think that somebody's you're going to take their money and then they're not going to have a say-so in it. But when you're building up your IP, when you're building your company, when you're building your business, that's where you're putting a lot of the self-worth and self-esteem into your product, so that you can come to the table and give your negotiator leverage and being able to say, hey, this is what I want. There was a client I had where he was high school educated, working, at Best Buy, had a bunch of records out, had masters already out, and then people wanted to check him out, and ultimately, a major record label signs him that I negotiate, but they wanted to own his masters. And I gotta say this, when someone says they want to own their masters, you always own your masters when you create it. You could get it back just 35 years. You want to reduce the time. You want to make sure that you license the masters. But what I wanted to do for them was make sure that they got it as soon as possible, or when the record label recoups their money. But because him and his team had invested all of this money on their own into their product, into their music, that was allowing me to be able to take that step forward. After even an attorney with 30 years of experience telling me, nah, don't worry about going after the masters because they're not going to give it to you. After all the other countless labels were telling me, well, let me explain to you how this works because, you got to go through a deal first before a deal that doesn't really benefit you. And so I was like, oh, okay. Again, like I told you, the confidence I have in the faith that I have as a man of God and what I'm doing, like there's no way somebody could get me off that rock and understanding, oh, this is the path I need to go. So like it's one of those things where I've always told people, hey, when you're working on music, try to get involved and understand what the process is because that empowers you. That knowledge gives you power to make certain decisions. I was a music producer, but I was working at Foot Locker and working other places while in college.
And you
in the meantime, to buy my own product. Me and my team was putting our money together, or it'd be mainly me going to buy something and make it our own, right? And then after a certain point, then we can go to this table and be like, hey, this is what we want to do. But if you have everybody helping you out and doing all this stuff that you're not taking accountability for and ownership of, then, you will need an investor. And, they will need to get a bigger piece of the pie to get a return because money don't grow on trees, right?
Yeah, I agree 100%.
And I just want to say, and I would just want to say, I wasn't talking about we invest in ourselves in general. I'm saying initially on the foundational level.
Yeah.
So once you get to a certain level and you have, other investors that are interested, then you need to navigate, as you said.
Yeah, most definitely. I understood
I was more or less just talking about on just a very, very lower level because at some point, once you grow, you're going to attract those people. And at some point, you're going to have to, one, figure out what's going on, or you're going to be on somebody's documentary saying that you didn't know what you,
exactly.
you didn't know.
You're going to be, one of the people that got jerked. And I think it's safe to say creatively and business-wise, it's a sweet spot in both. Mm-hmm. It's a sweet spot of knowing the foundation. You know me, personally, and that's how I know you. I done walked up on you. Mm-hmm. I done said, yo, this is my music. I done spent my money. That's why we sitting here today. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And like you said, once you build that foundation, you attract people who want to do business with you. So I think it's a sweet spot of what you were saying, like initially, or having some type of money or energy or passion invested in it, but also understand at some point relationships are worth more than money. Sometimes because that relationship, whether it's business, whether it's, personal, in business, it's going to help amplify your situation. But once you get there, since you had that foundational work that DJ Honey is talking about, and then you have someone, like an entertainment lawyer or your own experience with a professional to come together, you can properly negotiate the next level and you won't be sitting in a situation like that. I don't know nothing and I don't have anything. And I think that's the beauty of both of what you were saying, like the foundation, but also once you get to that point where you are signing those deals or making those negotiations, you think like that. You don't think like, oh, well, he ain't gonna get the masters anyway. You're thinking of the risk reduction. You're thinking of the best way to reduce the time of him getting it, because it's 35 years. People don't even know that. They think it's forever.
Exactly. And that's the I talked about documentaries earlier, but that's also where I got that from the guy that played on Hanging with Mr. Cooper. I think it's Curry. I can't remember.
Mark Curry?
Yeah, yeah. He talked about how he was working but still doing stand-up shows late at night, but working all day. And people are like, man, why don't you just focus on comedy? He was like, but I got to invest in myself, and why am I just going homeless? And when I could,
I hate when people say, "This all I got. If I don't get a deal tonight, I'm going to sleep." No, go somewhere, go to work, get the money, and invest in yourself, because you're putting yourself in a dependent situation talking like that, and they mask it with passion. Oh, I'm so passionate about it, I'm gonna quit everything and I'm gonna go hard. That don't even sound. That don't make sense.
It's stupid.
If you really love what you do, you're going to make sure you find a way to support what you do.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I hear artists say that. I just saw the documentary on Netflix. What is that? With Cardi B, T.I.
I didn't see
the
that
rapper. They was battling, and it was like a competition.
Got you. I know what you're talking
about. And no offense to none of them artists if they see this, because I know a couple of them. They said that. They like, if I'm going to be on the street, if I don't. I was like, why would you? That sound crazy.
Yeah, and I get it. Look, I get it. You want to focus all of your attention on that. I would just say for me and how I work and what I saw, and then how I would encourage other people to do it is it be okay with being skillful and masterful in all areas, because I worked for the federal government before I became an attorney. That area helped me become a better music attorney. Me being a music producer helped me become a better attorney. Me becoming a better attorney actually helped me become a better songwriter, hook writer, and music producer, believe it or not. So like it all works. Like you don't have to separate and make everything mutually exclusive.
I think that because the movies has made it look like that, so people
Yeah, like you
think
need to do one thing.
people think that that's what they have to do because people are so visual. They don't think about the longevity and how to build something. You know, I was talking to my partner and I told her, she's been having she just keep hitting roadblocks in her business ideas and the foundational part, right? And I said, if it's anything that you want, you are going to have to work for it. I know that you see that I'm busy, I'm booked, and I got all of these amazing things going on for me, but you got to think about it. I've been doing this for 18 years. I've been doing this for a very, very long time. So I've been in the downfalls. I've been in the high up places. And I found a sweet spot because I've worked so hard and I've hit so many roadblocks, the same ones that you're hitting. So you just have to keep working. So I tell anybody, yeah, you should have a job.
Yeah, of course you could. It's just like we was getting back to music. Like DJs, you know, they be like, oh, this ain't gonna work, Arson. This ain't gonna work. And it's like I had to find a way where, okay, I like to be lyrical, but I need a catchy hook and I need a certain beat. I need to make it work. You know. Do y'all agree with that saying? What's the saying? That you jack of all trades and master of none.
No, I don't, because if you're gonna continue to practice and get involved with all of the different trades, at some point you're gonna become a master of them. Especially
I
if
agree.
the 10,000 hours that they say, some people say it's been proven as not true, whatever. But the point of it all is, if you continue to practice makes consistency. It makes it to the point where it's hard for you to mess up. Like you actually become exquisite at what you do.
Exactly. Because like me, I'm a program manager. I'm an artist. I'm a video director. I have a podcast. Somebody yesterday said, I'm a photographer. Somebody said, oh, man, you're just pulling shit out your ass. Like, you don't do all of that. And it's like, they said to me, you could be the jack of all trades and the master of none. And I'm like, well, that's not true, because each thing I name brings in income. And I don't see nothing wrong with income.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
My first
And a lot
question.
of those help with each other too. I
Of
think.
course. Like
My
he
first
said,
question would
transferable
be-
skills.
My first question when I'm thinking about the person who said that, is the hustle the same for them?
It's not. That's why
They could
but
never
that's why we was
understand
having
it.
the conversation.
Yeah, they could
'cause
never understand it.
Just to give you a backstory, the point of the conversation, it was one of my coworkers telling that person that it's okay to do something else other than what they're doing, because they had that idea that if I do something else, then I won't be great in what I'm doing. So they were trying to give them advice. So I chimed in, like trying to inspire them, like, hey, this is what I'm doing, and it's all at a high level. You know, it's not like I'm BSing. It didn't start off at a high level. Like even this podcast, I don't do it every week. I don't do it. You know, my last podcast was a year ago, but it's quality over quantity. When I drop them, it's 5,000, 10,000 views. You know, so it's because I really take time to think about topics that matter and conversations that matter.
Yeah, mentality is a big piece. I'm not gonna get us off on the wrong track, but it's essentially for me the lane that I picked with the whole Ebony Williams and the bus driver situation. I don't know if y'all heard about that, where Ayanna Van Zandt asked her, would she date a guy?
Oh, yeah.
And my thing was, I was like, the mentality is going to be different.
What
It
happened?
doesn't-
Was she date a guy doing what?
A bus driver. Ayanna asked her, would she date a bus driver? And she said if he owned the bus.
And Ebony Williams is a big time attorney. She's a personality. She's a business owner, entrepreneur. But the mentality is going to be different. So yeah, if I'm talking to someone that it doesn't work,
That's
or
why soldiers
push,
and his generals.
yeah, in a certain way, they're not going to understand. But not even trying to be funny, if I talk to a law school student versus someone that's in high school, right? Like the mentality is going to be different at that point. They're at two different stages. Someone who has multiple streams of income is more business oriented. They're probably going to have a different mentality than the bus driver, right? Doesn't mean that neither one of them love what they do and are good people, great people, honest people, but still the mentality is different. There's other aspects that come around. And fortunately, with me working as a music producer with talent and as a lawyer, you know, I've been able to work with some smart clients. And I always tell them smart clients are the best clients, because y'all are the eyes where I can't be. You're the ears where I can't hear.
I can see
right?
that.
So like you want that. You want to be around those people. You want to be affiliated with those people. So yeah, I would definitely disagree wholeheartedly with the jack of all trades, master of none.
Absolutely.
We got a couple questions for y'all, but before I get into that, I wanted to go back to what we was talking about before we start recording. We was talking about Jordan. I looked it up. Jordan. Obviously, when you think about our culture, it's like Jordan is like, is a thing. So I just was curious to see what percentage of the brand he owned, and it's 5%. And I was surprised at that because when I looked up at how much Nike was making a year, it's $5.1 billion a year since '97, which is $125 billion, where Jordan only makes 400 million. And DJ Honey was saying it's passive income. You don't have to do nothing. He's just making 400 million, and that's fine. Like if he's fine with that, if you fine with that, that's fine. And I'm not here to judge on percentages. It's his deal, it's his business. But it just shows you like the value of just a small example, isolated example of how someone in our culture, how much valuable their sneaker is or their influences in sports, to make $5 billion a year. And, for me, like I was saying earlier, I would at least go renegotiate 1 billion. You know what I mean? Because I understand we talked about, he built his foundation, he built his brand, he did the work, and he ran into an investor, a business partner, and they came up with a deal that they both was happy with. But when you hear $5.1 billion a year, it's just like, well, dang, it makes you think, and it's inspiring because it's like, well, dang, now, if I'm the type person that's not cool with 400 million, and I know that I'm on a similar level as Jordan or someone like that, let's just say I'm LeBron or something, and I want to go into a deal, I might say, hey, listen, I need a bigger percentage. But I just looked up that, and I thought it was interesting for people to know. Because they always hear about what we make, but they don't hear about sometimes what percentages and the bigger value. And we go back to like Dave Chappelle, for example, when he was offered the 50 million and he turned it down. He said, if somebody's going to give you more than what you asked for, it's just a little suspicious. You know what I mean? And it sometimes comes with that idea that you may have to compromise. And in his situation, he didn't. So I just wanted to bring that up. Also, another fact that I wanted to bring up, I saw on CNN, was in 2021, the black buying power is $1.6 trillion. So in the world, our dollar is the most valuable dollar. However, as a group of people, our net worth declined 16% that year. So it's like, as a group, our net worth is going down, but we're still at the highest level of purchasing. And in my opinion, I feel like when we talk about lifestyle culture, the things we buy, those things that are natural to us is being taken, commercialized, reproduced, put in front of us, and we're buying it not from ourselves in a way. You know what I mean? But also in 2021, after the pandemic, black business owners went up 28% in the world after the pandemic. So we there is some growth in it. And I think ultimately the point of this conversation I want to get to after these questions is, how do we get to that point of becoming financial literacy, it being a priority? How do we also, own our stuff and things like that? So I have a couple questions. Me and Jossie, you want to go ahead? Go ahead.
Well, the question I have was just about like how important it is and why is it so important for black artists to be represented. But I feel like we kind of talked about that a little bit.
Well, yeah. What I would say to that though, just to expound upon it, and to relate it to his question, in terms of being able to own it, I think where that comes in at is the accountability that DJ Honey kind of spoke on, which is investing in yourself, and then asking questions. We all grew up in the age where you could type in 2 times 2 and Google would tell you right then and there, where before Google existed, you had to know your times tables. Like you can type into Google, hey, what does this mean translated from Spanish to English? So, but no one is ever asking, hey, what does this mean in a contract, or what is a publishing deal,
Right.
or what is a music deal? What is copyright?
What is a master?
What is a master? Like it's right there. The same information that I have in my head is right there. Now, yes, sometimes information is a lot intricate and esoteric. It's difficult to understand. They're using all of these big words, but at the same time, you could start Googling and Googling and Googling it, and next thing
People
you know, you
Google
get
anything, the TikTok, anything, but it's
Right.
like certain things you would think they would
there.
look
Right.
into.
So to the reason why it would be important to have representation for those black artists is to hopefully have the right guidance and the right people in the room when they're speaking on their behalf. But what I would also say is to kind of like flip that question is why it would be important for black artists to keep doing their own research and finding out what's there and going beyond just the things that are on their phones or what people are telling them, because when you start asking questions, then you can start figuring out if these people are lying to you or not. For the most part, everyone has the ability
That is
to
so
read
true.
people.
When I
right?
met you and I talked to you about my experience with some lawyers who didn't have the same values as you, I would say. A lot of the things, I came to them to solicit some song placements, but they tried to hit me with the okey doke, like, oh, we want to charge you $3,000 to get your trademark, and this is how you copyright your music. And they were kind of like surprised that I already had my name trademarked, that I already had my music, I already knew what a work for hire was, I already had all these agreements and stuff. And it was kind of like once they found it out, I kind of realized they didn't have the ability to do what I came to them for. And they could have just said that, but instead of doing that, they like to, exploit the situation because some people don't know those things. So you're right.
Right, and don't get it twisted. Like, even though you do all of that information digging, when you come to the lawyer, it doesn't mean necessarily you start telling them what they're gonna do and how they're gonna do it. Because the one thing about being a lawyer that I realize is we get paid to continue to learn and grow. Like, it's practice. That's literally what it is. So you know what you're doing, but you continue to grow. But then on the same note, when it comes to owning that IP, and the reason why it's important is because of what you talked about with hip hop being the biggest genre, specifically in 2017. That's when it became the number one genre in the world. And then from there, it's been that. Now, the streaming numbers and stuff like that has decreased slightly for Spotify and Apple Music and all of those other places. But that's a big thing, especially considering I think it was in 2020 when Travis Scott did like the collab with McDonald's, and DJ Honey mentioned McDonald's. Like, he made $20 million off of the cross collab, right? But like all of those things, guess what? Travis Scott, that's a name, that's a license, that's given a permission, that's given to McDonald's to use for merch. That's his IP. That's his trademark.
I like what y'all saying, because we talked about streaming, and streaming it could be looked at as a blessing and a curse. It could be looked at as a curse because now you can't really make the money you used to make off selling directly. But it goes to the point of having other ways to get income, because like you just said, if I'm an artist, 1 million streams on Spotify is $1,100. Egotistically, I got 1 million streams, but financially, it's $1,100. Back in the day, you sold 1 million, you had 1 million. It might have a percentage of that million, but it was still $1 million made. So it goes to my point of being able to educate yourself, go with the trends and the times, understand how to use your brand and your license. Like me, I license my music to VH1, BET, and my music continues to make money. I don't have to I don't have to, in a situation, just be like, oh man, I'm just streaming my music and I'm not getting no money for it, but I get publishing for it. So I had to understand, like, okay, selling directly or a CD ain't really happening no more. What's some other ways I can use the actual MP3 other than streaming? And I think when you brought that up as a point I wanted to mention, and that's just me doing the research myself. So I want to empower everybody.
I actually think that's a really good thing to talk about, because I'm curious.
Oh yeah.
What other ways can we use the MP3 since people aren't buying physical copies anymore?
Licensing, songs, commercials, jingles. I do commercials for people because I shoot the video. Then I suggest my own music. Like, hey, listen, you can license my music because you know me at a cheaper price than having to deal with
right.
copyright
And what you're talking about is sync license. Yeah. That's a lot. Like publishing, the word is used very broad, but publishing comes from basically in basic terms, just presenting your work to the public, right? So you got TV, film, you got commercials, like you stated. You have podcasts, You have NFTs. You have all of these different venues and pathways to make music from your music. But you most importantly want to own the copyright.
Yeah, so you can license it. Like I have a
Yeah.
non-exclusive license. So, like I'm in a movie, right? I'm a battle rapper in the movie. I wrote the verse. I had to make it clear this is my intellectual property. I want, this is a non-exclusive license. So
Right.
don't think when you come out with this movie that I can't say this somewhere else, or I can't make a song out of this, or you can't, So that's something that I noticed because most people are just like, oh, you good, but no, like that's something that's non-exclusive, and when it's exclusive, it's to that person, or when you sell it rights, it's different. So just knowing those differences is important, and I could tell you more about that since you're getting into, to artist side of things. You got any more questions, Jesse?
I also had a question for you. Just how is it being a woman, being a DJ? Does that affect it?
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course, like the music industry, the entertainment business is a boys' club,
Yeah.
and having to like push and break through those barriers, like a lot of women have to really create their own wave. And then everybody else will want to. It's hard for women to just meet people and say, hey, I do this. And they're like, oh, okay. But if their homeboys say, yeah, I'm trying to rap, like, I got you. I'm gonna put you on a club and you can host and you can do this and I'm gonna spin your music. It's definitely like a boys club, even just on like just basic levels of like communication, the things that men say about women that aren't true.
Right.
Yes, it's definitely, I won't say it's very hard anymore because I've learned how to maneuver it.
Yeah, that was gonna be my next question. How are you moving through it?
How I move through it, to be honest, I stopped listening to it. I stopped worrying about it. I really over the past, I want to say about 6 years, I've really taken the time to like really invest in my brand, like myself. It don't matter if it's like makeup. It don't matter if it's DJ equipment. It doesn't matter if it's really about how I present myself to the public because I got the talent to back it up. And once I started to do that, things started to shift for me. So I really try to stand behind other people that I believe that are talented. I try to push other women. I try to inspire them, promote them. I try to create a girls club because if no one else is going to have us, we need to have each other. And I know a lot of women, they kind of get caught up in a lot of the drama of things and the jealousy when it really doesn't have to be that way because we actually do way better when we band together.
Right.
And that's just us as a people. And I wonder, I still like don't get it. I don't get why in our community we see someone progressing and we want to tear them
I know
down.
why.
The jealousy will ruin you.
I
That
know
will,
why.
What you think it is?
For one, in the hip hop culture, it's always been somebody against someone else. And that's already integrated into our family lifestyles and how we were raised and how we maneuver. So even when you're thinking about business and then you really want to get into the art side of things, it wasn't until I found out that Erykah Badu, she DJ'd. And I was like shocked and amazed. And then I found out she painted. And then I found out that she did all these things. And I had like this wake up call. I was just like, yo, art is art. If you are a DJ, you can be a painter. You can be a designer. You can be a producer because you already have that eye. You already have it. So if we're able to tap into it, man, you be surprised at the many beautiful things that you can do because art isn't just one side. It's multifaceted. And some people are able to tap into that. And I think that some people get caught up in, and sometimes I don't even think that it's like the individual per se, but I think that it's, why am I not good enough? Or why am I not progressing in my career? And then they build up animosity towards other people when it's really everything that has to do within themselves.
Yeah, it's them looking at other people and not themselves.
And not themselves. When you really have to, like I said a few years ago, I took all of that energy and I really put it into myself because I used to help so many people. I've seen some DJs surpass me and I'm just like, well, what about me? What about me? And I just like, you know what? I really need to worry about myself. And when I started to do that, I had more time for me. I had more time to think about my brand. I had more time to think about what I want DJ Honey to look to the world. Like, what energy do I want to give to people instead of worried about the next artist? And I don't worry about anybody else but what I have going on.
Yeah, it's like that confidence in the wait, like that peace that like this is the
It's
time
so
that you are
peaceful.
building yourself, and everybody else has been doing that behind doors, behind closed doors or whatever, and now it's their time, and you have to have peace that your time is coming.
Yeah, I would probably say it's just human nature. Cause I know, I'm gonna be honest.
I agree.
Cause I know a lot of times we're speaking specifically to our own community. But I remember one time I was watching First Take, and this was when Max Kellerman was on the show, and Stephen A. Smith started speaking the things that even Kyrie got in trouble for a little bit about. He was like, yeah, the Jewish community, they stick together and they put their money together. And he was like, no, they don't. He was like, I'm Jewish. And it was like, what? It was like, yeah, but you know what I mean. He was like, I don't know what you mean. I'm Jewish, and I'm telling you.
I think ours is just amplified more. Like I agree with you. I think other races, other cultures, and history. I think war's been going on forever. But I think for something about our people, it's like it's like pushed to the front. It's like like that is like you said. I don't know if
We're
it's
more
about
vocal.
culture.
Yeah, we're vocal, but
We're
we're
very
also,
vocal.
but we're also like we're in the middle of it because I promise you, they're having the same conversations over in their communities too. It's just in a different way. The same way with the backstabbing. The backstabbing happens there too. It like I'm part of the C-suite track. Because I even got interviewed to run Rock Nation's label. Like, so I'm in these circles of these people. They talk about like, yeah, man, this CEO or that person, like they're trying to get this person out of the office or trying to get this person out of here, right? Like those discussions happens amongst the white men.
It's just
and stuff
different
like,
structure.
Yeah,
It's different
We're
structure
vocal.
and politics.
We publicize
Yeah.
our drama.
Yeah, we're very. Yeah, you're right.
Or you'll see it on TV, like
And
Trump and the people when they were arguing about GOP, like even the stuff now. So like you'll see it, but like
our beef is just like amplified.
Yeah, but I did want to speak on like navigating the business as a woman. I can't speak on it specifically. Obviously, I'm not a woman, but like I have women clients, and my first experience with it, besides growing up with it, because I had a single black mother, like I saw the experience that she dealt with ageism and racism and sexism. So like I got a client, one of them a social media influencer. They had found out another white woman got the same type of deliverables and deal that she got, but she was offered way more. Me, I already was coming in, at a higher level. So then I guess that gave affirmation that what I was asking for wasn't out of the norm anyway.
Right.
But when I found that out, I was like, boom, okay, cool. I'm gonna talk to the people, the counterparty, and find out what's going on. I didn't necessarily out the other person, but I had to come up with some other justifications to solidify why my client deserved this amount, right? So then I started talking about the other things that she was a part of a big Warner movie. They had asked, the Warner movie had asked her to market it, right? So there's different things I was doing because I'm able to be quick on my feet and think of different things. But like I had made it my business to like not even just black minorities, but like black women specifically to be taken care of because
you customize your services for your clients. Though.
Yeah,
and that's a great thing, and that's why I'm glad I have you here because people get to see a different side of entertainment law. It was so hard trying to find a black entertainment lawyer. You know what I mean? Just general. Like you know what I had to do to find you? It's so easy to find like a Jewish lawyer, and like I told you when I talked to you, they don't always have the best interest just because some races do stick together and some things are political. But I really appreciate, what you're doing. One of the things that came to my mind is I talked to like a 98-year-old man that I knew, and I asked him, what was the key to life as far as you living that long outside of like you just dying of a car accident and stuff like that? What helps you, kind of mentally survive through, your life? And he said, not being caught up in instant gratification. And instant gratification, I think it pulls us away from looking at ourselves, like you was talking about, not looking at yourself. And you want to compare yourself to so many things, and we got so much social media society pushing agendas and prioritizing certain values, and it makes you question, well, who am I in comparison? And I think if we look the opposite way and say, who am I, not just in comparison, then, we won't have to compete or we can see things like, hey, listen, it's better to work together. I just wanted to mention, we talked about beefs and being public. Right now a big contributor to violence in the communities is drill music. And I know drill music started in Chicago, and it was something that was hip hop. It was the people expressing what their life was at that time. But it kind of became commercialized. Now you have people who never killed nobody in their life. They want to kill somebody just to rap about it, where back in the day they would rap about killing somebody. You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Freeway and Jada posted a post and said, yo, we was beefing, we cool now. And the comments said, yeah, y'all was rapping about killing each other, but these kids is killing first, then rapping about it. So we talk about art imitating reality and vice versa. It gets to a point where it's like, now I don't want to be an artist to express myself. I want attention. I want attention by all means. Like, and I'm gonna use rap as a vessel. I'm gonna use showing my body as a vessel. And it's like, where do we get back to looking at ourselves? When do we get back as a people to valuing some type of agenda? And it's like, I think that's one of the weak spots of how we get exploited. Just overall, for the people that may not have the education or the drive to build that foundation or learn independently, like that. I think that's one of the weak spots in our culture. Is we talk about ownership, but it's like we give it up so easily for things that really don't matter, like attention and all of those
It's the
surface level things.
It's the visibility. It's the visibility. So, like, for example, one of the things that I appreciated having was that the first lawyer I ever met was in my junior year at Norfolk State. Is this criminal defense attorney in Hampton, Virginia, and he had invited me to his law office just to meet with him. It was through a friend of my mother's. She used to babysit him, and so his name is Tyrone, Mr. Tyrone, I would call him. And so came over to talk to him, and then I'm in his office, and we go to the restaurant next door over. He sits in his usual seat. He just motions for the restaurant person to come over. They come in, talk to him, and get his usual, and then they ask me, and then boom, that was it. And so I was like, man, that's cool. Because again, like I knew people that have money, but I knew it because of the music industry. So I had never seen a lawyer. I always hear the lawyers have money, the doctors have money, but I never saw it. And so then I saw how he moved, and then his family. He had a wife and 2 kids, a beautiful black wife. He had beautiful 2 black kids. He had all these nice cars, right? But then he also was moving a certain way. It wasn't, he wasn't Ghost off of Power where he was living a double life or anything like that. So I'm like, man, that's crazy. I didn't know it could look like that. And so what I try to do then still is show kids that are in elementary school, middle school, high school, or college.
Option, right?
Yeah, and what it looks like. For me, I don't need to see something to visualize it. There's visions
But
that pop in my head.
do.
Yeah, but most people do, right? And so that's where that is needed. Because I like what you said, it contributes. Because I don't blame music. Like it still comes down to the parents. Because I'm gonna tell you, the artists that's in these industries and the filmmakers and stuff, they don't let their kids watch certain
Facts.
things,
Yo,
right?
that's so true.
it's on the parents. They get mad at the teachers when it's the parents first that come. They pick and choose and
It's the
cherry
structure.
pick. Now you're controlling what history is taught and things like that. But you weren't doing that when little Billy was acting up at your home, right? You leaving it to the teacher to handle that. So like it's those things that I think is important. It's still my narrative again is knowledge, right? Like in terms of creating your own business. A LLC is, at least in Virginia, it's easy to create. You can do it in 5 minutes, right?
LegalZoom.com.
Yeah,
Really easy.
I always say if you can't avoid those one-stop shop things, then do that, because sometimes your situation is going to be a little unique.
Yeah. You might
than
need more
most.
education on what it is.
Yeah, but do that, right? Like own your business, because you have a business. It separates your liability. That's where you can house your IP, your intellectual property. Then you register your music, right? If you do a beat for somebody, then you want to try to create like some type of license. I always tell people it's better to just wait versus signing something and not knowing all of what you need to do if you didn't have the right practitioner, licensed legal practitioner, do it. Because at the end of the day, when it comes time for somebody to sell their music or license their music to a record label, what's better, having an agreement that's halfway drafted or having no agreement at all and no one knows where the contractual relationship is, and now you got to figure it out when the deal is on the table, right? I think people start moving along quicker. People get along better because now there's money on the table for everything to split. Stuff like that is what I would say easily as advice to give to individuals about IPE and like what do they need to do to get ready and be set to go when stuff comes down the pipeline. At least figure out what your state requirements are to create an LLC because they give you the instructions right there. Like,
yeah, and I
set
think
it up.
ultimately that's the goal is like to have this discussion to talk about things. And one of the things I want to talk about real quick before we wrap up, I heard this thing called the trauma economy. You ever hear that?
No.
It's a new term they're using. So I looked it up, and it
It's always
says
a new term.
it said, what is the economic trauma or trauma economy? It said it is something for it is for the purpose of a quick way to make money off of a community that is experiencing sustained stressful impact or emotional pain. So we talking about like, you know, we talk about our music, our struggle, and how it's exploited in front of us, and you know, and we talk about how it relates to like violence, and then also, you know, how woman is treated in music and or treated based off like narratives in music and stuff like that, and we kind of enjoy it. Like we enjoy the drama, we enjoy the beef, you know. So I just wanted to talk about that as one of the things that I feel like fuels the distractions of not really focusing on some of the things y'all talked about. And as we wrap up, I just wanted to get some quick ideas from y'all as far as like solutions you feel like moving forward, where we're moving as a culture, as a people, what you think we should focus on to sustain success as individuals and as a group, you know, briefly as we wrap up.
Man, real quick, the economy, trauma economy, that just sounds like another phrase for the finding a market of a need, to be honest with you. When I hear that in economics and economy and business, but yeah, man, I would probably say, repeat your question one more
So
time.
my question is like, we have some growths as a culture and as people, and we have some distractions still. What do you think moving forward in the next 5 to 10 years, like as a people, we could help us focus and sustain success as individuals and as a group?
I would say what came out of 2020 was a lot of what do you call them? Little webinars and free lessons and free classes on certain things, because everyone started realizing, oh, okay, you could reach a bunch of people that are at home and through you know virtual Microsoft Teams and Zoom and things of that nature. So like I would say, for one, focus on whatever your craft is, find out the roles and the players of the people involved, and then go to those webinars, go to those little lessons or free classes that they offer. I mean, Harvard offers free classes, Yale offers free certificates and things of that nature of certain things that you want to learn, whether it's on the business side or the talent side. Then I would say also focus on what is it that you're missing and what is it that you need, and then figure out who's around you that can help. Because I know for me, even outside of the law and the music, sometimes I'm just talking to my friends or talking to their little nephew and nieces or whatever, and then I get an idea just because they brought something to my attention that I didn't even know of or hadn't thought of. Being open-minded. You hear a lot of the podcasts where like people will give out information, but it's not really information that's great. Like one of the things they were telling us when we were growing up, I don't know if y'all remember what they were saying at first, don't ever go on Wikipedia because the information isn't true.
Edited.
Yeah, now people go on Wikipedia, but the whole purpose that they were trying to teach us in school, in English specifically for research, was when you find sources, then you question those sources, and then you question the other sources.
You don't just go off what you find.
Right, off of the first one. You keep going because what you're doing is you're vetting it. You're making sure that information is true.
You're researching it, literally.
Right. So if you stay away from the books with no barcodes, essentially, right? That's how you want to move. So I would say that's where the focus needs to be, because now back then, or back when our parents were younger, it was hard to access the information because it was very linear and very siphoned into one place. Now they put so much information out just to distract you from the truth versus a fact versus something that's made up.
And they do that all day with the fake news.
Yeah. So like that's what I would say now is like just making sure that you can verify, but focus on what your craft or what your need is, and then look around from there, because it's in your own area, it's in your environment.
How about you, DJ Honey?
This might be broad, but I really do feel like this. I feel like we should remove the trauma. That's what I feel like, so that it can't be capitalized on it. And I know that that's going to take more than 5 to 10 years, but I think that we should. We used to have the conversations about our own grocery stores. We used to have the conversations about our own banks. I think that those conversations need to resurface. I think that if we start to have our own convenience stores where we can pour back into our community, we can start to remove the trauma. That way it can't be exploited. We need to rebuild our communities, but build them in a way that that people in our community can benefit and profit from, and change the deficit as far as us buying products from, white-owned companies or companies that are just not for us. So I really think those conversations need to resurface, and I think that'll start to change the conversations and topics. And don't get me wrong, I actually think that the community as a whole has actually been doing a lot better in regards to
I agree.
Businesses and understanding LLCs and even copyrights. When I met him, when he came in, I said, wow, it's so crazy that I'm meeting you because I'm thinking about putting out a song and I want to make sure I do it the right way. I'm not impressed by the glory of fame.
Yeah,
because
you
the way
wanna make sure it's right.
even the way that I explain fame, people look at me like I'm crazy. Like when I talk to my nieces and nephews, they're like, "Oh my God, Aunt, you're so famous." I'm like, "You must got money." I said, "See, that's your problem."
Yeah.
People think that fame equates money.
Most famous people be broke, though.
I try to say this all the time, and
You
nobody
got a
believes
million
me.
followers and $27 in your
And
bank
they
account.
don't believe me. I said, I was like, I'll break down fame to you like this real quickly. I said, when you were in high school, the most popular person in school, did you ever walk up to them and give them $20? I said, no. I said, well, that's fame. People are famous. You don't just walk up to a famous person and give them money. What makes you think that they have money?
You have to capitalize on some
Yes,
type
and
of
now if you can
service or talent.
monetize your
Yeah.
popularity, that's a different story. But
Facts.
a lot of people don't.
Yeah.
And I even think that some people, I just had a situation, and I wish that you were a part of it. I was trying to book an artist. I was trying to book an artist for a DC Black Gay Pride weekend. And it's one of those little TikTok popular people. Their manager told me they had like one song that was not on an original beat that was about 30 seconds. They told me they wanted $10,000. I said, you're crazy. You want Ja Rule prices.
For what?
Just for an appearance.
For what, though?
And my thing is
Like,
that.
how does that capitalize for money for you? Just because they
But
popular?
it doesn't.
It doesn't. That's what I'm saying.
It absolutely doesn't. There's no way. In order for me to spend $10,000 on you, I would
gotta
have to
make
see
at least
20 or 30.
15 to
That's I would
20
have to
back.
see 20 or 30 from you. There's no way, and that means that people would have to come see you for your 30-second unoriginal song and pay
yeah.
$100.
And his
Yeah,
TikTok,
because you still got to pay for the use of the
yeah,
other
his
songs.
TikTokers are conditioned to his TikTok and not his live performances. Show me some live performances
See,
for you to make some money.
I thought where she was gonna go with the example was, hey, have you been to the most popular person's home day in and day out and see how they living? Because also too, like there's a behind
Oh,
the
that
curtain.
sounds like a podcast.
Yeah, you get behind the curtain and you realize like, oh shoot, they're not that because they're famous doesn't
Equate to
cause
money.
them
Right.
There's a correlation maybe, but
It's
it's
a lot
not
of
a
famous broke
causation.
people.
Yeah, there's difference between causation.
I have
and
the
correlation.
conversation with my partner too. She'll be on social media. Oh, this person got money. I said, no, they don't. I said, how many times do you see them post a flyer where they host them? Because that's where they probably really making money at.
Yeah.
Where do you see? Now I'm not saying that they're not making money, and we're talking about like reality stars, right? And I'm just like, no, they're not. No, they're not. How often do you see them getting booked for things?
Yeah.
That's where they make their money.
Yeah, not just talking about
Not
it.
just online with a fake chain, but that's what they're supposed to make you believe. They're supposed to make you believe that they have all of these things.
So
and
you
they
could
don't.
spend money maybe.
Right, so you can spend money on them. It's even the same thing as far as for me with DJing. Sometimes I will take, I will call it an investment. I will invest in myself to perform at certain things.
Yeah.
Just so that when I come home and it's like, oh, you were on Coachella. Yeah, give me $2,000 for a 2-hour set.
Facts. It happened with me. I did that when I opened up for artists, and the next thing you know, I got booked and double the price. So you
Yeah.
flip it. It's an investment. Jassy, what do you think as far as like what we need as a people and as individuals to stay focused on being successful?
I think like kind of like what she said, like about the trauma. Like I feel like we have to start like at home, like with the families, and stop giving, like stop buying. You know what I mean? Stop spending the money. And that takes like support, like at home. That takes education at home, confidence. That's everything like at home. So like women aren't out there spending all the money on their nails, their wigs, all the like, all the pop stuff that they're wasting their money on, and whatever else. You know what I mean?
There's actually a young lady in DC. Y'all probably heard of her. She owns the Spice Suite. She just opened up a black-owned strip mall in DC.
Nice.
And where she makes sure that like black-owned business owners are, praised in this strip mall. And I thought that was such a beautiful thing because it goes to what I said. I think that we need to start to remove the trauma. We need banks. We need grocery stores.
Exactly. The infrastructure in the
That
community.
too, yeah.
And I wanted to say this. I agree with all of y'all. I heard you talk about black business supporting each other. And there's a lot of people who have businesses. But one thing I want to put out there is y'all should have quality. Y'all should have standards. You should have the same quality and standards that you expect to have. I feel like people, when we work together, they feel like, oh, you black, I'm black, I could be late, or I can give you a little, I could be not on my pivot. No, we need to have standards and qualities to have respect amongst
I think
business.
somebody should do like a
You know what
black
I mean?
business workshop where
Yeah,
we could talk about professionalism. We could talk about
Facts.
customers and how to deal with problems and all of those things. Because again, I think it all still boils down to not being educated on the topics, whether it's music, whether it's business,
For sure.
or any of that. But I think that we need some workshops like that. That doesn't sound like a bad idea.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think they have some things out there. I'm gonna put some links under this video too for people to check out.
Yeah, I feel like it even goes like deeper too. Like that's all important, but like people even knowing that they're worth it, like that they can get that education. Like some of the stuff that like the resources, like with the Pray for Philly challenge, like getting out to people who like need those resources and just have no clue that they're even worth more than like the streets, and we're worth more than like spending every dollar that they get coming in just trying to look good rather than investing in generational wealth, like for their family, getting their families out of the ghetto, out of the gutter, out of just like basic poverty.
And exactly, and I'm gonna end off on that note. When I did the Pray for Philly challenge, I used music as a tool. I used social media as a tool. But my main focus was to get people out of survival mode. All my life, I ain't gonna lie, probably about to 7 years ago, I was in survival mode. It's hard to talk to me about investing or stocks or looking up information or doing this or doing that. Or I didn't care how am I gonna eat, how I'm gonna get this paid. When you can focus on your mental health, your psychological safety, your physical safety, you can get economic justice where you can feed yourself. You can actually have a career. That's why I work at Europe. We provide careers for 18 to 29-year-olds for free, and we pay them for it. You know what I mean? So when you talk about preventing and you talk about erasing the trauma, if an 18-year-old goes into this program and gets $70,000 their first year, which is a real true story, now they can provide a foundation for their family so their family doesn't even have to experience what they experience. And then you slowly eliminate that. So I moved from trying to just save lives to enhance lives, to erase that. And I think for me, that's what my opinion is, to focus on finding ways to just get out of survival mode and letting them know that it's okay, you are worthy, and giving people tools to sustain themselves and fish. Not, teach people how to fish instead of just being dependent. I think when we get to that point, then we can sustain, and that's where the true growth is going to come. I want to thank you, DJ Honey. I want to thank you for coming through. I want to thank you as well. Any last words before we close out? Where can they find you at? Your Instagram?
Well, yeah. My Instagram, you can find me is your_lawyer_and_producer. Working on my law firm website, but email jcastang, CASTANG, at jaclawfirm.com. Is another place where you can find me if you have any questions. But yeah, thanks for having me for sure.
No problem.
Everybody, you can follow me on Instagram at DJHoney215. I'll never take 215 out my name.
215, ARSIN 215. DJ
Yeah, I'll never take it
215.
out my name, but literally everything you need to know about me is on Instagram. Everything's in my link tree, how to book me, all of my booking information, honeythedj.com. You could literally find everything that you need to know on Instagram at DJHoney215.
But I'm on Instagram too. Made of Soul is my Instagram.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say, I just wanted you to share real quick before we end. How does it feel to have that challenge affect your life to the point where you're in a program that's going to change your life, like where art and this movement actually became a thing that actually has real results in your life? How does that feel?
You mean like the Pray for Philly challenge?
Yeah,
and all
and
that?
you being in Europe now.
Yeah, actually, yeah, it's actually pretty amazing because I was actually, like, if we're gonna be real, I was actually homeless. So I was actually homeless for like over a year when the Pray for Philly challenge started, and so I was like staying place to place. I was like getting into like a bunch of stuff. And around when the Pray for Philly challenge started, that's when I started. Like it like gave me like that in itself, like what kind of like pulled me out of like a dark place. It gave me something that like actually made me feel like I could do something. You know, like you put trust in me. You put trust in me. Let me know that I was capable of doing things. When I was in like, you can only be homeless for so long without like really starting to feel like you are nothing. So, like that in itself, and then now I'm in the Year Up program, and it's just amazing. Like it's amazing. The people in it are amazing. It's just it feels great. It feels great. It's exciting. Like, it makes me feel like I have more purpose, more hope for the future. Now I know that there's, like, it's lined up. Like, there's a lot of times, like, I've made goals before. I've done things that, like, they don't always go through, or I can, like, kind of make a goal, but I have no end for it. It's just something I want. Like, this is, like, a goal that there's an end to.
And it's structured too.
Yeah, it's structured. There's so much support. There's all-around support, emotional support, like, educational support, peer support, life support, all of that in there. So it's just amazing.
Well, I want to thank you for coming. Like I said earlier, that Pray for Philly challenge is going to be on the podcast as well, just as a extended view if you want to watch it. But I want to encourage people to do their own thing, and this is something that I did. I use art, social media, and has it affected lives, multiple people have been in different programs, and they have different stories, but it's just amazing to see how things like this can really make a change. And that's the whole point of this podcast. When I thought of it, the matchbook idea, you like one match in the matchbook and it sparks the ideas of others. So we'll see you on episode 6, and thank you for tuning in. Make sure you check it out on extinguishent.com. Peace.
Fire! Beat it on the drum till it's numb. Come on, have a little fun. It's your life, you only get one. Love your brown skin, you ain't get it from the sun. You was born with it as a queen. I'm talking red, black, green, I'm a king. I got the crown, you hear the sound. Shake it like a drum when you take it to the ground right now. I want money, not beef, I was vegan from the start. Where I'm from, they got heat, drums beating like a heart. I ain't talking about no bongos, talking when the 9 goes boom, shaka boom. Just gorillas in the Congo. Pull up with these bars, I was working out the back room of the house where the studio was at. Laying tracks, talking 30 minutes. Your brown skin, you